Good morning. I'm Sheriff Furlong. I'd like to talk to you today about some emotional traumas that we have been experiencing over the last 17 months since COVID hit. We're seeing more and more people in crisis today than we have ever seen before. And in many cases, they're ending tragically. And that's very sad for our community. Amongst the top things that law enforcement does in Carson City for each and every one of you is to check on the welfare of people. We do that more often than anything else in our daily activities. And that's the sign of a great community. But when we find people who are lost due to the pandemic, due to self-inflicted wounds, it becomes heartbreaking. It becomes heartbreaking to see people who have passed and no one knew that for a period of time, days and sometimes weeks. That's not the characteristic of this community. This community looks out after one another, our neighbors to neighbors, our families, our businesses. But we are seeing a growing trend of people who have lost sight for tomorrow. And that's where you come in and that's where you can help. Carson City's churches, businesses, and even families were locked down in the COVID crisis that began early on in 2020. We were told we couldn't visit our loved ones. We couldn't spend our Christmas together. Someone in the hospital, a family member, you couldn't go see them. These emotional traumas became a way of life early on. And we started hiding behind our doors and our curtains. Our families didn't celebrate Christmas together. They didn't come together for an anniversary or even a funeral. It hurt. It has hurt this community dramatically. We need to turn that table around. We need to come back out using the precautions that are provided to us by our health authorities and visit. There is nothing more valuable to your health and your stability than the human contact of someone stopping by and sharing a few moments of time. It is 100 times more valuable than a phone call. The human contact is probably going to be the key to us turning it around. I'm asking everyone in this community to think back to the period before COVID. Who were you sitting next to in church that you haven't seen since COVID? Who did you see in the restaurant or go to an event in Carson with, but you haven't seen them? In many cases, those folks are living alone. They're elderly, sometimes health issues. Families are spread across the country. We know that in today's society. And they lack that emotional support that two people can have when they look at one another and say, hello, how are you today? It doesn't take a lot of time. It doesn't take that much time or effort to pick up a pie or make a pie and visit that person in their home. That person is someone you know. There's not a database here in this community that says these are the people we need to reach out to. The people we need to reach out to are the ones that we have not seen since COVID came upon us. And COVID's not the only reason. The stresses of everyday life are a challenge. When we lose sight of tomorrow, when that darkness falls upon us, that's when things become devastating for our community. And we are seeing this here in Carson. We are seeing this every single day. I'm asking everyone in this community to remember that person who you used to see or who you are used to going out and having a breakfast with, to turn the table back to pre-COVID. Take the precautions that are comfortable for you and the other person, and stop by and say hello. Spend some time with somebody who has no other reason to come out of their homes. And I would offer you this. If you do make that offer and that offer is pushed off, that is a significant indicator that that person may be in crisis. That's why I ask you not to call. That's why I ask you to ring the doorbell, to knock on the door. That face-to-face contact. Our bodies need that. Our lives need that. And our communities need that. In the event that you find somebody who is giving indicators that they don't want company, indicators that they're not getting adequate medical or health care, any indicator that draws you of concern, I want you to be reassured. The number one thing that Carson City Sheriff's Office does is check on people's welfare. We have mental health teams. We have mobile outreach. We have clinicians, and we have caring, trained officers that can provide for the services or connect to the services for anybody. This is a wonderful community. In this community, there is no reason to be left behind. We have the resources. No one will be turned away. We want you and I to reach out to someone today. Put a smile back on the people's faces who are struggling to see a bright light for tomorrow.